Hi everybody, and welcome to Painting for Pleasure. I'm your host, Tony Visco. We've been asked, or I've been asked over time, from time to time I should say, that I should do some florals. I should do something in the way of a flowers. Now I'm not a big floral painter, but I will go through the process of doing a floral. This is going to be an experiment for me as well as you, because it's not something that I normally do. In order to expedite this, if you take a look at what we're going to work with here, I'm going to do this. It's a couple of roses that I pulled off the internet, and I'm probably not going to do them as diligently or as tight or as detailed as what's here, but I'm going to use this as my base to work with. So what I've done is I've pre-drawn this out, and in truth what I've done is I've actually manipulated this and really, this is a one-to-one relationship. I mean, everything was there. I didn't trace it off of that, but I did measure this thing all out, so it's pretty accurate to all of that. And then even if you do trace it, it's fine. It's not a big deal. I'm more interested in the painting process than I am the drawing process right now, just to show you the process that we're going to do. I'm going to interpret the background a little bit differently, and I'm going to do this a little bit more loosely than I had than it's represented. I'm sorry, I don't mean to start stuttering here. I apologize for that. I got something on my glasses, so hang on for a second, please. So I guess the question is, how do I approach this? Well, I think what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to get a light background in here. What I'm dealing with is warm pinks and reds for the roses, a background of fairly neutrals. It's actually blurred out so that you can't really define anything that's happening. There were probably some white flowers back there, but we'll just soften it up, and I'm going to make it a red, and probably make it bluish or something like that. And the way I want to handle this is I'm going to take and I'm going to essentially probably do the roses, maybe petal by petal, but I want to get a background tone in here before we get started. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to take my round brush and I'm going to wet the paper. And what I'm going to really do here is I'm going to basically wet the paper around my rose, or my roses I should say, with clear water. Alright, and let's get it nice and saturated. Could probably use even a bigger brush than this to saturate it if I can find one. How about this one? Let's see what... I guess I could just use my big sky brush. Where is that? But we're gonna make the background cooler. The roses are gonna be warm, and we're gonna make the background cooler. And I'm wetting the area around the roses and maybe even around the leaves. This is all wet in here, and I'm actually going to come in. I'm going to come in a little bit on this, because I'm going to see if I can capture some of the coolness into the rose itself. Now, these are all leaves. I will probably end up using or leaving some of the area white. Let's just get some of that. Let's start getting some of that bluish cool tone in here. And I'm going to actually, I know I've got it pretty well lined out, but I'm going to probably, because I don't want to create a hard edge around the roses necessarily. So I'm going to take some of this and bring it into the edge of the rose as well. All right, so we have a coolness that's going on back there, and we're going to end up, what I'm going to do right now is take a little bit of my lavender, which is a nice cool blue, throw some of that lavender in the background. This is all going to be green down here because this is all of this is going to end up being the leafy structure, and we're going to turn this, we'll end up turning this all green. So essentially what I'm doing is just going through and just giving it a little bit of cast, a light cast of blue that's going to go in here. And because I'm dealing with my rose, I'm going to deal with my rose on a pink side, and I'm going to come in here and I'm going to get a little bit of opera because it's nice, that nice light sort of pinkish color that we can play around with. And I'm going to let some of that bleed off into my bluish area. I'm not holding fast here to my lines. I mean, this is a well-defined and well-drawn out, but I think what I want to do is to create a little bit of a softness to this that we're going to end up reflecting more of a rose that's say a free-formed rose. Okay, so we're going to do this very lightly. Okay, so you can see basically where my tints are for my rose, and it's actually, I'm going to even let it go outside that, nice and light, and we're going to end up introducing some of this violetish self. Now what I'm basically doing is I'm just mixing, I mean, this is very watery, if you can see this right now. I'm just putting a background color in here, just taking a little bit of my opera and a little bit of my blue, making some purples, a little bit of cobalt blue here, making some purples, and trying to define where those purples will be. Coming down into this area here, maybe some of them is going to be along the ridges in this area here. Maybe some of them is going to be in here. Just trying to establish now I'm going to add a little bit stronger color. I'm going to take a little bit of my pyro red, mix it with a little bit of my orange, making this a red orange. And again, nice and soft. Okay, very similar to this here. I'm going to add a little bit of my opera to it. Put a little bit of alizarin crimson. A little bit more alizarin crimson. Okay, and we're just going to end up starting to just add a little bit of this softness. Some of this areas where the shadows are going to be. A little bit more of this. And again, we're building this up. Now this is watery, loose. Some of my purple violets. It's pretty dark in this area, in the centers of these things. I'm going to just do a little bit of this here, maybe some of that purplish tone. Again, nice and watery, nice and fresh, nice and wet. And then we're going to get into, come out here and get into my greens a bit more. And start to look at what happens here in terms of some of this. Some of these greens. And again, what I'm really trying to do is not necessarily come in here with and not necessarily, I apologize, not necessarily duplicate what's there, but use that as my reference. My mind was on something else over here. But most importantly, what I'm really trying to do is to create this sort of nice sort of highlight up here and somewhere the edging over here, and bring in some of this nice cool blue, these cool blues that are they're going to sort of come back in here and trap some of this stuff. And I'm keeping it light. I'm not putting in anything dark yet, because these blues are going to turn from blues to greens. This is just my background. Okay. A little bit of my blues. I'm going to start making some magic here. Because these are going to be blues and greens. A little bit of green, but not too much. Need some of that nice and bright and light. Again, some of these blues are pretty cool. Some of these greens, rather, are pretty cool. What we want to do is trap some of this stuff here and over here and down in this area right here. See if I can get them, pull out some of the lights still while I have this. I'm going to try and pull out the lights now so it can give me some, so I can get some definition in certain areas. What I'm taking is a little bit of water and hitting the highlights. Well, this is light. Not a lot of pigment in here yet. Okay, so while this is light, we're coming in here. Let's get this pinky stuff. All right. And what I'm doing is I'm going to come in and do something around that, and something around that there. We've got this nice tonal value there. Again, keeping this nice and warm and light. Just touching bases. We got some of this stuff is coming up over here. And we'll catch a little bit more highlight, a little bit more orange and red. I'm going to put some of this in, and I'm going to actually pull some of that light out pretty soon. I'm going to let it set up a little bit more. You know, a little bit of dark spots here and there. And again, it's wet, so it's going to feather out. I'm not too worried about where this is going to go. Let's get a little bit of blue in that mixture. Make it a little bit more. Adding cobalt blue is what I'm doing. A cobalt blue and my combination of reds and blues. And we want to sort of make this a little bit more. I'll tell you what. Let's use cerulean blue and opera. How's that? And we're going to put a little bit of that in here, right? A little bit more opera. A little pinker. Okay, so see what I'm doing is I'm keeping this fairly light when I apply it. And we got a little bit of value there and value there. I need to put some dark values in here and here. And we're going to come around here and put some dark values in here. And some dark values in there. And so we're starting to slowly build this up. A little bit of darker values in here. Now this is again still soft, right? So it's wet. Okay. And if I'm seeing this correctly, the reason I don't do this stuff too often is because my mind won't let me see a lot of these creases. So it's amazing. I don't see them like a lot of other people see them, so I have a hard time following each of these patterns. But we'll work it out. We'll make it happen. All right. So let's get some soft. Feather some of this over here. Now that's pyrrole red I'm using right there. Getting a little bit of that under here. some of my dark area. And we have a little dark area right there. Maybe a little bit of a dark area there. We're going to go right back in here and get some more value. And there and there. And again, coming back, maybe I'll do this with a little, let me see if I can do this with this brush here. Take a little bit of water. What I want to do is I want to create a little highlight right here. All right, and we have let's see if I can get this nice light area coming down here. This is one of those leaves that are coming down here and across here. We're adding some water here. We're adding a little bit of water in here. And a little bit of stuff over there. Okay, we have this pink. Okay. And then I'm going to come back in here. I'm going to dig out a little bit of this light area here. I'm not sure I'm explaining how I'm doing this, but I am going through the process of defining some of those leaves, making some of those leafy areas a little bit lighter. Okay. So we're building this. This is sort of like a slow build. And I'm doing it essentially a petal at a time, I guess. And what I'm doing now is going in the direction of the petal. Right, so this is going to be darker over here, lighter there. And the same thing with this out here. Trying to keep this light. All right. And again, giving me something similar to that. If I can take a little bit more red, I want to come in here. That's sort of going to be dark in there, but this certainly has the ability to come out a little bit. Maybe a smaller, maybe a little smaller brush. Again, this is going to be an interesting test, but this is how I'd structure this, I guess. I mean, I'm not a floral painter, but I think what I need to do is I need to see this stuff going in the direction that the leaves are going in, right? Leaves going in this direction here, that direction. Add a little bit more red, a little bit more pink. All right. What I'm doing is I'm forming this first, okay? I'm giving it, what I'm trying to do is to give it some form. And then we'll go back and we'll do more. Okay. Rose. Let's see if we can create this rose. Now, can we create it? I don't know. There. That's pretty dark. And it's pretty dark in here too. And it's going to be pretty dark in here as well. Okay, so you can see how I'm building it up. I'm taking and going from the inside where the petals hit. One petal is usually darker on the inside. Right, darker over there as these petals come out. Same thing with with up here. All right. Okay. Nice and dark down here. So it's a sweeping, it's generally a sweeping feel here, like this, right here. Let's go over here. Same thing with over here. We got this coming up here, and that coming up like this. And a little bit of nice red-orange together. A little bit too orange. Gotta get some pyro red in there. And make that pretty strong in here. And then we're going to make it pretty strong out here. Alright. And we're going to make it pretty strong coming in here. Okie doke. And soften us all up. Soften that up. Nice. Okay. Let's darken that up a bit as we come around. Alrighty. Well, normally I would be working on just one of these, but be that as it may, let's just go back over here, and we're just going to do something like this to bring this in here. We're just building this nice and slow. And again, I'm not sure this is really going to come out the way I want it to come out. But we're going to just keep giving it, just keep coming in here and just giving it a shot. This is my way of doing it. Yep. This is just delicate work. Now, this is cool in here. You notice I'm just following these lines. It's going to be nice and dark over there. It's going to come down here. That's dark there. Some of this is dark over here. Some of that is dark there. Rose. Let's go back over here now. I hope my head was not in the way. All right. My color's okay. We have to get a little bit redder, I guess, in that area right in here. I'm making this a little bit darker than my actual reference material. Just want to create this sort of interesting shapes. We're looking for interesting shapes while we're doing this. All right, so we'll use that as a base. We're going to enhance that all, but I'm going to now go back and play around with the background a little bit more, get that taken care of, and let me get some clean. So we're back here looking at some of these greens and blues that we got to take care of in these areas here. And we're doing this very loosely. Just coming in here and adding some interesting blue greens to this. I'm using cerulean blue right now. Help the greens along. And we're going to do the same thing with some of this area in here. And we're going to do the same thing with some of this area in here. I'm really interested in making sure that this stuff is enhanced, that it shines and it shows well. Getting a little bit muddy in this area here, and I want to avoid that if I can possibly do that. So I need to get some fresh color. Some of that reds and purple. It's got a little bit too much, I think. But we got some real dark stuff that's going on down here, where these leaves come in, and we've got some stems. And again, I'm coming back in here and I'm building this, and all I'm doing here is I'm just building it with this cerulean blue. Now I know it's green. I know I realize that, and I should be using green, but I'm not. I mean, there's some green. There is green in this, in the pigment in cerulean blue. There's definitely green in here. So I'm starting with that and working my way out. Right? So we'll give that a nice feeling as it comes around, and we're going to do the same thing up here. I want to get some real beefy value, and then I might just let that go off to just a light play the white against that, maybe some a little bit deeper blues here and there. So what I'm adding is, what I'm doing here is I'm just adding some tonal value, some strong blues, to help make that pop. And it's basically what I'm doing is I got cobalt blue, more pigment than water, and I'm putting it into the wet areas here and there, and let them bleed together. So we'll see how this works out. Okay. All right. Add a little bit of my coming in here with a little bit of my yellow green, a little bit more refreshing yellow green in here. A little bit, there's a little bit leafy. I'm going to make these leaves softer. We'll bring those this stuff out. Okay. So let's take my small brush and take a look at maybe some of the stuff that's going on over here that's a little bit cooler. Okie doke. So with that, what are we doing up here? We're gonna soften a lot of this stuff out. Again, got some of these roses that are looking, I mean, in the camera they look good, I guess. Just so let's get some of this darker sort of purplish tone that's here. We got some stems that are coming down and up, right? A little bit of dark area under here. All right. Okay. And some stems over here. Right. We don't need to pronounce those too much. You got some leafy matter over here. Throw in some real dark blue against this. Right here, we're just going to give this a real beefed up look here. Get that a little darker. It's a little darker right along here, isn't it? I might have to put a little bit of white in there later on. We'll see what happens. So we got this green. What is that? It's interesting. We got this sort of stem that's coming. Oh, I know what it is. You know what it is? This is just a leaf. I don't even think I'm going to put it in there, because you're not going to know what it is anyway. So let's just cover that over. We'll cover that over. Take out a little bit of light there. There, and maybe right there. Yeah, I'll take a little bit of that orange and put it right in here. We got all kinds of good stuff going on. And we're just going to soften this all up down here. I will play around with this in a little while. I do think that we need to get a little bit stronger with those blues. All right, so we're getting there. Not as vibrant, not as bright as I want yet. What I need to do is to just give this a nice coating over here of red again. So let's see what we can do. I'm going to try to pull this out a little bit more with defining some areas here with a little bit of a pencil's work. Oh, I have decided to just stay with some paint right now to brighten this up. And what I'm doing is I'm modeling now. Okay. I'm coming in here and I'm just taking my paint with my smaller brush. And giving it a little bit of my softer, more edgier look. Okay. I've got a deep area down here, nice red. And these come up, which basically means it's a little darker right here. All right. Now I'm going to put a little bit of, I'm going to get the, what I'll do is I'll get these darks all in here. first. And then I'm going to come back with some white. All right, so what I see is a little stronger right there. And I guess this petal comes out and around us. Now, it actually is lighter here. All right. So this is a pretty smooth transition in here. Okay. And let's do it. It is deeper. I want this bright red. Okay. Alrighty. Okay. And we're going to do the same thing in here. Now, I keep going back because I'm modeling this. Trying to model it anyway. Okay. Alrighty. Bring some of this orange up. Over here, maybe some of it out here. And soften all of this stuff in here. So that's that flower. We'll get a little bit of, we can just, again, go back. And just soften this all up. Okay. Watery. Okay. So you can see what's happening. It's slowly coming. Put some. I'm gonna put some of this stuff in there because that's. I just want it to be fresh and free, free floating. Yes. All right. Okay. Let's do something. Let's get a little bit of putting a little bit of violet in here to give it a little bit of stimulation, change up a. All red just doesn't cut it. So I'm just putting a little bit of violet in here to soften that up a bit. And I see this as darker in here. See that as darker. I see that as darker. I see some of this is darker in here. Okay. That's what I see here too. A little bit darker. A little bit darker. Darker still right in there. A little darker. Yeah, right. Red. Oh, red. How red is red? Oh, red. I think I'll add some white up there. I see this is even darker up here, actually, too. I see this is darker. See, this is darker over here. Yeah. And this over here is really darker right there. Okay, so it's not as brilliant red as I want it to be, but it has the form that I'm looking for. I'm going to do something here with the leaves a little bit more. A little bit of little brush stroke. What do you call it? It's a dry brush is what I'm saying. This is cool. All right. Might get a little bit too dark on this stuff. Right, so we can do a number of things here. We can probably, I mean, I left everything here in the background. I left it sort of just almost like to your imagination. Didn't want to get too detailed back here. What I'm doing is I'm using a little bit of lavender back here to what I might do too is bring in a little bit of this is Naples yellow. Okay, so I think that's basically where I'm going to be right now. I want to put in a little bit of white and maybe get a little... Oops. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in a little bit of white paint just to touch it up here and there to bring out some of the lights. But first, before I even do that, what I want to do is I gotta let it dry a little bit more. So I'm just going to let it sit here and dry a little bit, clean my water, clean my brush, clean my palette, and come back in here. So sorry, I thought you were on record and you were on standby while I was doing this, but I apologize for that. We are going to make these a little bit more pronounced. A little bit redder. A little bit redder. Okay. If I could get it to stay that bright, it would be great. I might have to use gouache to get in here. Okay. Alrighty. One more pass of this beautiful pink to help this along a little bit more. This is Okay, that's it, everybody. I'm going to call it a painting. I'm your host, Tony Visco. This is how I would approach florals, or at least I would approach it now. I may want to do this even a little bit looser. I'm going to let it totally dry, and we may come back. We're not sure, but I'm going to let it totally dry. So again, that's it for now. Thank you very much for being with me. I'm your host, Tony Visco. That's it. Once again, see you later. Bye-bye.